All right, everybody sounds good. So yeah, this is, I don't know if I was clear about what this is, but basically this is like your whole life story.
Oh, well, I hope you've got a while.
No, we do. We have until exactly when your class starts. Okay. So that's the thing is we want you to talk about yourself, everything you've done, where you started from, all that kind of stuff. So I'm going to, why you're a big deal, basically. So I'm going to do my little opening here. And then we're just going to chitty chat, and mostly Holly and I are going to listen. We're just going to listen to what you've done.
Oh wow!
All
okay.
these years. Okay.
All right, Joey's all right.
Hi, it's Stage Door, a theater podcast, and this day we are doing another one of our what do we call it? Starring role,
Ooh.
where people who are from the area have gone out and done something working in the industry in one way, shape, or form. And we have a choreographer today, and a dancer, somebody who is actually still working locally, or back working, I should say, actually, because you already went out and did a bunch of really cool stuff in life.
Yes.
We have Julie O'Connell. I should probably specify who it is. So we're going to start from the very beginning, Julie.
Okay.
Like, what made you amazing, I guess?
Oh, my goodness.
So no, we're not going to start from the beginning. I'm wrong. Let's say what the coolest thing that you can think of that you did in your career, and then we'll go back.
Okay, gosh, there are so many. It would be really hard to pick one, but what's jumping out in my mind is I got to choreograph Donald O'Connor.
Mm-hmm.
And he came to my class in Los Angeles and watched and said, I need a kid to dance with me in this big production. And so I auditioned all these little 12-year-olds, and my daughter was there, and she was sort of sitting on the sideline. She was only 4 or 5. And he looked over and he goes, "Oh, I wish I could have a kid that small do it, but, they could never do the dancing." I said, "Oh, yes, she could." You'd be surprised.
Oh, ye of little
So
faith.
she got up and kind of did a little audition for him. And then he said, "Oh, since you're her mom and, you can choreograph it, you know what she can do." So she ended up doing this fabulous show with Donald O'Connor, and she was Little Miss Singing in the Rain, and I got to choreograph them, and it just really stands out as a great...
I hate being dumb, though. Who is Donald O'Connor, please,
Okay,
since I don't know who this is?
Yeah, well, Singing in the Rain, the movie, Debbie Reynolds. It was starring Debbie Reynolds, Gene Kelly, and Donald O'Connor.
Oh, my gosh.
Oh, then
I
your
am
son
stupid.
would definitely know
Yes,
because he was
yes.
dying for somebody to do that show locally.
Yeah, I mean, he's got many other credits behind his name. He was a fabulous actor, singer, dancer, but that was when
That's
I grew
huge.
up
Yeah.
watching him. He did Be a Clown, in the Singing in the Rain, and he was just fabulous.
So are you more proud of your dancing or more proud of your choreography?
I guess I'm mostly proud of my daughter.
That's a parent thing, though. That's totally understandable.
She just she has a wonderful career too, and I'm just thrilled that she's kind of followed in my footsteps. And she's much more of a performer. I enjoyed my performing years, but I always gravitated to teaching, choreography, directing. I kind of like being in charge, I guess. And so she does more with the performing, and I've done more with the teaching and stuff.
Yeah, that's awesome, though. Okay, so now we're going to go back. We're going to go way back to when you were a wee, nothing little thing. You were maybe 3 probably when you started dancing.
No, I started dancing before I was born.
What?
Well, actually, my mom was also a teacher.
Oh.
And she was going to give birth to me in July, and she was still performing in a dance recital in June.
Oh.
So we always just joke that I was dancing before I was born. And so I just grew up with my mom as a teacher, and she owned O'Connell's Dance Studios here in town.
Oh, okay.
So I started teaching when...
So you're more of a local legend than I realized. I didn't know there was an O'Connell
You're
dance
like
studio
Patrick Swayze.
Oh, yeah, Patrick Swayze dancing.
Exactly.
Yeah, his mom was a dance teacher too, right?
And
Yep.
I did have the opportunity not to work with Patrick, but with his mother, Patsy.
Get out of town.
Yeah, my daughter actually did a commercial that she had choreographed in L.A. We jump all over, yeah. So from the beginning, I did grow up in a dance studio here in town. We actually had 4 locations.
Oh, wow.
About 1,500 students.
Oh.
So it's pretty hard for me to go anywhere without somebody saying, "Oh, you taught me how to dance," or "Your mom was my dance teacher,"
That's
so,
amazing, though.
yeah, she left quite a legacy here, and So it's fun that I follow in her footsteps a little bit. And
Right, but so you were dancing before you were born.
Yep.
But then how? So then what happened then?
the minute I was 18 years old, I wanted to dance professionally.
Oh, but that's too much. You must have had some other stuff before that, right? You skipped
Well,
18 years of your life.
Okay, I did the Ohio kid thing. I went to school. I played. I went to the dance studio.
Where'd you go to school?
I went to St. Patrick's of Heatherdown,
St.
Oh
Patrick.
yeah, familiar.
and then McTighe,
Oh,
Okay.
same.
then Macaulay.
Okay.
And then we moved out past Southwick, which
Okay.
was way out, in
That
the,
was
So
yeah.
far
yeah,
out.
so
You
far
were
away.
in the country at that point.
I was in the
time, right?
country,
Yeah.
and
That's funny because I told Holly when I moved up here in '91. I said I never even knew anybody that lived in Perrysburg. I'm like, Perrysburg? What are you living in the country?
Exactly. I
let
know.
alone like Anthony Wayne. 'Cause
I
you
think
were
sometimes
definitely out
when
of-
you're younger, your
Yeah.
concept of distance is a little off.
yeah.
Yes, and
So
car time
So
was-
you moved all the way down to south end of
out
Toledo.
to the Reagan was so I went out to Springfield.
Oh.
And I actually graduated a little bit early, and I just wanted to go to Los Angeles
Ah.
and dance professionally.
Sweet.
Like I said, I'd been teaching all those years, and there weren't many opportunities to
You were
perform.
teaching when you
Here.
were in high school.
Yeah. Junior high and high school. I'd go to school and I'd go straight home and come over to the dance studio.
Awesome.
And teach, help my mom with classes and teach. And,
Well, it must have been
yeah.
nice too, because not only obviously did you follow in her footsteps, but because you were there with her all the time, you got to see from that teacher's perspective. You grew up with that perspective too.
Yes, it
You
was
also
just
got to spend time with your mom.
well.
It's like you get to see her.
Yeah, because that was the only time we saw her was at the dance studio. She was, like I said, with 4 locations.
Yeah.
And
So then you were 18.
18, got my little car, drove to Los Angeles.
You drove there? You just drove? Did you have any plan at all? Did you have
No,
a place to stay? Or are you sleeping in your
no,
car?
It's a lot further from Springfield.
It is. Yes.
A little bit.
Past Southwick.
I flew out for like a mini vacation or like for a couple of weeks in the summer to sort of check it out.
Scouting trip.
When you were 18 or 17?
Yeah.
With who? By
I-
yourself?
I went with actually one of our other teachers from the
okay.
dance studio. She was one of my mom's dear friends,
Okay.
but sort of between our ages, And she said, I'll go out for a couple of weeks and help you check it out.
Wow.
And I thought, we didn't have internet and TV shows that were so hip. I thought I had been to New York and taken dance classes there on a dance convention and things when I was 13 and 14. I just figured LA was like New York. You walked everywhere,
Oh, yeah.
Totally not.
And I got there and I went, surprise! I need a car. I need
Yeah.
this. I need. So,
But I was so dumb, I wouldn't even have known either New York or LA or
LA is
anything.
so big,
Yeah, but I wouldn't
so
have known
big.
that you could just not need a car in New York either, so I was just clueless.
yes, I know. We just, like I said, we weren't exposed to that
Yeah,
much with
yeah.
the internet and things. Like kids now know everything, or they
Or
just
they
Google
think
it.
they do.
Well, they Google it and figure it out, So yeah, I landed in LA after, kind of figuring, I need to get a car. And I was going to stay in a hotel the whole summer.
Oh.
And we figured out the price of that didn't work. So I found a sublet apartment
Yeah.
that was beautiful. It was in West Hollywood, and it had a pool on the roof and chrome furniture and shag carpet. I thought I was in
Wow.
heaven,
Nice.
What
Live-
year was this?
It was like in the late 70s.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Heck yeah.
I was,
Chrome
Oh, the
and
late
shag?
70s in LA must
I
have been
was
awesome.
living the life, I'll
Yeah.
tell you. Yes. And, it kind of fell into a great place to take dance. I studied with Al Gilbert and then also Joe Tremaine.
Joe Tremaine I've
who
heard
are
of.
Very big names
Yes.
in the dance world, and ended up being both of their assistants at different times, and so that provided some travel with going on dance conventions and things. And then I think my first professional job, I auditioned for Princess Cruises.
Nice.
It was a very exciting time because the Love Boat was being filmed on the ships,
Oh,
and of
On
course,
the Princess Cruises?
yes, on our ship, and
That's exciting.
I
and
didn't
new.
know that.
and of course Julie on the Love Boat, and so here I'm the real Julie,
Yeah,
on the
that's
Love Boat, and they would be filming, and
Dude, I would have been flexing. So
it was so much fun. And we did shows every night and cabaret acts and,
Yeah.
played ping pong with the passengers during the day. And I traveled the world. And,
Yeah.
I was 19 years old,
Yeah. So
just-
was it like a Caribbean cruise, like Southern Caribbean?
my
or
first
something?
3 months, I was in the Caribbean,
Oh.
and then sailed through the Panama Canal and did all of that.
Oh,
Did
yeah,
Mexican,
real Southern community. Yeah.
yeah, did Mexican cruising for
Nice.
3 or 4 months. Did a summer in Alaska.
Wow, you really were taking
you
advantage
did
of all
see
the places
everything.
then.
Yes, and then I actually ended up. They asked me to come on as an assistant or a choreographer. So I ended up sailing, setting some of the shows on the ship, and sailing to Australia.
Oh boy.
And having quite a lovely time in
You
Tahiti and
wait,
every place
sailing
along the
to
way.
Australia. Did you take the boat all the way to Australia?
Well, I flew to.
I wasn't sure
I
if that
flew
was
to
a thing.
Hawaii.
That's a-
yes.
that's a long-
Yes.
that's
I
a
didn't
long-
know. I didn't know. That's why I asked. So.
No, we flew to Hawaii and got the ship, I believe, in Hawaii, and then sailed across to Australia. I forget, 4 or 5 days at sea, and we were busy.
That's it. 4 or 5
working.
days. That's all it
Something-
takes to get from
something
Hawaii to
like that.
Australia.
Yeah.
So how many years? Like how long did you do that? How long did you work with the cruise lines?
like I said, as a dancer, probably a full year or so, and then went back as a choreographer for several months, and then on and off throughout the next couple of years.
Dancing and choreographing.
Kind of
and
choreographing and go to the ship a little bit here and there, but not living out at sea anymore.
Oh,
And
okay.
I wanted to stay more in LA and pursue other aspects of my
Gotcha.
career.
Gotcha. You were like, the rum life is fine, but I got to get back.
Yeah.
Back to LA and start doing some stuff over there. My
Yeah.
shag carpet is calling me.
Why is the rum going?
And, okay, so now you're back in LA.
Back in LA, I got I worked for a magician on
Wow,
the ship.
cool.
And when we got back to LA, he said, "Oh, I need some dancers and assistants in my big act," So I got that job, and I'll never forget the first rehearsal. Going and magicians make you disappear and cut you in half and do all these fabulous things, and dancers were typically very flexible, and we can
Right.
hide in small places.
Yeah, good
and,
point, actually. Yeah.
So
you're
he would,
usually tinier and
Yes.
usually more flexible. Exactly.
Right. So he kind of would show me some of these props, and he'd say, "Now you'll be getting in here, and just close that door over." And I'm like, "Oh my goodness!" I was a little claustrophobic, and I was like, "And you want me to stay in there for how long?" And then I appear, and then he makes me disappear. Anyway, you're not allowed to ever tell the tricks of the trade, but I remember thinking, "Okay, I'm a young dancer. I need the money. I want to do this job," and so I did quite a bit of work for magicians,
That's
which was
cool.
fun, a lot of fun. Yeah, and I'm not sure where in the mix. Then I met my daughter's father, and I started
Not a magician?
not a magician.
Okay.
He was actually a nurse.
I thought you were going to say nerd.
No,
So-
no, he was.
That's
no,
you, honey.
He's very
yeah,
cool.
Sorry, dang it.
But he was a nurse at Ohio State. He ran the open heart team,
Wow.
Oh, wow.
and he had a fabulous career. And that snowstorm of '78, whatever
the
that
one
was,
that they never stopped
The
talking about.
one that my
ever, yeah.
parents always talk about because I was a year old.
Yeah.
right? He got in his car and drove to L.A.
Oh.
Well, he's also from Ohio, the Columbus area. We didn't know each other in Ohio, but we met out there.
Wait, did
That's
the
a
storm have
crazy
anything to do?
coincidence.
Yeah, did the storm have anything to do with
No, I had already been in L.A. living for a year or so, but I
Oh,
was
but
only.
did it scare him out of Ohio?
Oh, he
or-
was just tired of snow.
Oh, yeah. See, so me too, yeah.
He said he was done.
Yeah, he's
So-
like, that's this crap.
Yeah.
I'm done with this.
You're going to die here. Just get over it.
That's what he did. No, he just said,
I'm done.
I ain't doing
But
this
that's
anymore.
so crazy that he's like from 2 some odd hours away, and you end up meeting
Right.
all the way out there.
Was that a conversation starter? When you met
No,
him?
not too much. I guess it came up in conversation. I don't really. One of his friends was a dancer, and we took class together.
Oh, wow.
And somehow the friend and I went out to dinner, and Bill tagged along, and we met, and we hit it off, and we were good friends. And but he had an interesting. He left the open heart team, and he went to L.A. and he got a job on the set with Michael Landon on Little House on the Prairie.
What? Doing what? Nursing people?
Yes, they always have to have a nurse on the set.
I did not know that. Did
It's
you
a
know that?
it's a legality.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
that's
it's a legality.
Great. I'm
legal
glad they
thing.
do that kind of stuff, though. The unions make sure that people are a little bit safer. Yeah.
But he basically went from scrubbing open heart surgeries to putting a Band-Aid on or passing out aspirin or, you know.
Oh,
So-
like the school nurses do.
Right,
That kind of thing.
right.
He's a school nurse for the Hollywood actors.
Right,
That's
right.
awesome, though. That's
Hey,
quite
you never
different.
know when you're on set in movies and stuff. I mean, what can happen?
That's a
so,
story right
you know.
there too. It's like, hey, anybody
Well-
who's listening to this is a nurse. You could be a nurse
You
in
can
L.A.
yes.
for
Well, what
studios.
happened was he was very entrepreneurial, and he started realizing how much he liked photography and the camera work, and he started hanging around the camera guys and learned the tricks of the trade and actually completely switched careers.
Wow.
And he got into the Camera Guild and was second assisted on the big television shows, anything Michael Landon
Wow.
did.
All while taking you out on dates?
I think we had gotten married by that
Oh,
time.
okay.
Yes, I think so. And yeah, and then right away I was teaching these adorable little showbiz kids, and I was like, oh, I want one of those, you know.
I feel like every dance teacher wants that little tiny.
You want that
little tiny dancer.
You want the little
girls.
dancer, and you know the whole deal. And so yeah, but while I was going to have this baby, I started teaching more, and because I wasn't really auditioning to perform as much, and one little girl, she was watching my class, and her mom said, "Oh, will you teach her?" And she was this little tiny, like 6-year-old, and I said, "Oh,
Like 3 foot tall.
yeah, just cute as a button."
2.5 foot tall. Yeah.
But I like to work with. I was working with more professional LA dancer kids. They were all in the movie Annie. They were 10, 11, 12. They were very good dancers. I really didn't
Already
wanna-
been dancing for 8 years by the time
they were like these little Hollywood
Yeah.
star kids. So I said I didn't really want to do it. So I kind of came up with a pretty big price, and here I'm still only 22, 20 something.
Yeah.
And so the mother said, "Oh, no problem." So she brings her to class, and we do tap, 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 little. The next week she brings her to class, tap, tap, tap. The next week she says, "Hey, do you mind if I bring a camera crew with me next week? Because they want to see what she does in her off time."
Oh.
And I
boy.
said, "Well, what?"
I'd be like, who is this
Yeah.
child?
I'm
Who
like,
is this?
"What does she do in her on time?" And she said, "Oh, she's a little actress, and she's got a film coming out." Well, it was E.T.
No!
Shut up,
I
Drew
was gonna
Barrymore.
say, don't tell me
Shut
it was
up,
E.T.
it was Drew Barrymore.
It was
You had Drew Barrymore?
Oh my
Oh my
gosh.
gosh.
So all of a sudden, we were all over the news and Eye on L.A. and all those types
Oh my
of
gosh,
shows.
I'm
I'm
gonna
going
start
to
Googling.
Google. I am going to go home and I'm going to Google
Did
these.
she take her little teeth out when she was in
You know,
class?
I was actually in the audience at the Johnny Carson show that night when she did that. Yes.
Oh my
Way.
gosh.
When she was there and she took, I don't know if you know this story.
Oh,
honey,
yeah,
but
it's
it's-
funny.
oh yeah,
Typical.
she took their little teeth out
Yeah,
and said,
she
"I'm
said-
tired of these things."
She
yeah.
said it'd be easier to talk without
Yeah,
these.
my
And
mom
she-
always
She's
makes
a
me have
little
these.
girl, of course. Like those little toothy smiles.
Yeah, she just set him on his
That's
desk, and
She definitely was
Crazy.
adorable and had quite a big personality. So you
Yes.
didn't think that was your biggest thing?
well,
See,
I
that's a
taught
compliment to
so
your-
many
yeah.
kids that were famous, and
That's a
Or-
compliment to your daughter, though, I think a lot, too, that she's the coolest thing you've done, really.
she, oh yes, well, and Kelly grew up around all these Drew Barrymore and Christina Applegate and all the kids that were in my dance company,
Wait,
Chris-
she was
yes.
in there too?
Christina,
Oh
yes,
my gosh.
Bundy. Yes,
Yep.
the Christina Applegate. So she was she even before she got on to Married with Children, or was that
yes,
there?
she was actually in my dance company when she auditioned and got on that show.
Wow.
And she actually had them write her out of an episode one time to be able to do our dance performance.
What?
She was so dedicated to her dancing and our company, and she's a great girl. We're still in touch all the time.
Out of town.
So-
I love it. Yeah, those are some pretty big and cool little things going on there. So you put a price out there, and this lady was just like, "Money's no object,"
She's
because
just
you
like,
thought
no,
there's
she
no way
needs-
anybody's going to pay
yeah,
for this.
She needs to, to learn other things and do this. And so anyway,
Then
Drew.
Spielberg came in with his film crew to shoot what she's doing in the off time. Yeah. All right, we had to adjust the microphone because poor Julie was slumping and slumping and slumping in her chair there as the microphone started to drop her in the middle of her very fun story.
Yeah, about like Drew Barrymore. I mean, here I thought I was cool because I saw Ricky Lake once at Disney World when I worked there.
From a distance, you
From
didn't
a
actually get to talk
distance.
to her. Yeah, well, it is fun too. All right, so then you did that. What else is cool? What else is going on now?
Well, I would say at the same time that I was pregnant, the Broadway show 42nd Street was coming to LA. They were going to start an LA company. Well, I had auditioned for it, and I got the show. And then I realized, oh my goodness, I'm not going to be able to do it, because I'm going to be
You're going to be
having
rounder
this
than normal. Yeah.
baby soon. And
You don't want to be like your mom out there dancing.
well, I think if it were my own show, but I don't think it was going to fly in this, big Broadway
You're probably going
production.
to have to tell them eventually, hey,
Yeah.
just so you know.
Well, the funniest thing is they got some sort of a delay. They won the Tony in New York. I think this was 81. And so somehow they got a delay, and they said, we're not going to open the Los Angeles company for another year. So
perfect.
Nice.
Perfect.
So
timing.
I had my little baby, and then we started 42nd Street, and she would come backstage all the time when she was little,
Wow.
Now, were you a performer or the
Yeah.
choreographer in the show?
Oh, no. I was a dancer,
Okay.
performer.
That's why
Yeah.
it was a concern, because she was like, I'm going to be a little...
No, yeah, because I still dabbled, I loved performing, but I taught a lot. I kind of started the teaching more because I was going to have the baby, and then that just became so lucrative. And then I would just, perform at certain shows that would
Yeah.
fit my schedule and
When you wanted to.
When I wanted to.
Yeah, you
Exactly.
got to pick and choose.
Yeah.
I have time, I'll do this. And if I don't get it, no big deal. I'll just keep teaching.
Exactly.
That's amazing.
So I got 42nd Street, which was a very fun, big deal.
And that's a huge dance show. Right?
Huge.
That's
Oh,
what I
yes.
thought. That's a
All
big...
tap and
A lot of the dancing people in community theater are always like, hey, we should do 42nd Street.
Yes.
And then the people are like, no, we don't have enough dancers.
we need tappers, It's a big tap show. But yeah, the cool thing about that story is, like I said, my daughter was always backstage with me as a baby, and I think the show ran for a year or so. And then they went on tour, and I did not. I stayed in L.A. With raising my daughter and teaching and doing other shows and things. But fast forward 17 years later, they were doing a big revival on Broadway of 42nd Street. Well, my daughter was just finishing up high school. And she's like, oh, Mom, I would love to be in that Broadway show. So we just by then we had left L.A. I forgot that part of the story. We left
Well, you
LA.
just fast forward 17 years.
Right. I can come back
I was
to that.
actually going to ask that too. I'm like, were you still there, or back in the area, or were you somewhere else?
Well, all right, I digress. But one day my daughter had a little, she grew up in L.A. and life is fun and crazy. But like we're at Michael Landon's house for a birthday party and he's doing this and doing... and it's just, it's not like growing up in Ohio.
Yeah,
it was
no.
just very different. And I just...
Life on the prairie.
Yeah.
That's what it is. It's different.
Well, I remember one day she had an audition, and she had to, she was kind of in her back seat, and I was looking at her through the rear vision mirror. She's looking at her little script, and, she's 6, 7, and she kind of reads it and says, oh, Mom, and then I ride a bike. And I said, okay, that's okay, honey. And she goes, oh, Mom, I don't know how to ride a bike.
Oh.
And it just sort of clicked, like she was on these little TV shows and Barbie commercials and performing with Donald O'Connor, but she did not know how to be a kid, ride a bike, swim, any of that stuff. So it kind of clicked, and I just thought, we're going to go back to Ohio and see what that's like. And right at that same time, Michael Landon got very ill and died within a few months. So my ex-husband lost his job, his family, his community there. So it was just a good time to make a change.
Right.
And we moved to Ohio.
Back to Springfield?
Holland, yes.
Okay,
Yes,
Pretty much the same.
Yeah. And I opened a dance school here, had a company. My daughter, I raised her dancing. Actually, this is the room I rented for quite a while.
We're in a dance studio right
Yes.
now because Julie's going to, as soon as she kicks us out, she has a dance class.
That's right.
And the funny thing is I knew where this was because I used to teach summer art classes to
Holly
children
taught here
here.
as well.
So
Yeah, this is a great building. They have art classes and a magician rehearses here and dance classes and vocal lessons. So it's cool. The
This
common
is the second
space.
podcast recording in a row that Andrew Martin has come up, the magician. So it's crazy.
Well, yeah. So I was here raising Kelly and decided, I'm going to just jump in and do as much as I can. So I choreographed all the shows at St. John's High School, and I worked out at Rossford High School, and just really enjoyed working at the community level and high school. And of course, my daughter was involved in a lot of these projects. And then when this big revival on Broadway came up, she's like, "Oh, I'd love to try," So we got in the car and we drove to New York.
It's good experience.
Exactly. And by the time she auditioned and we jumped in the car and drove back, and before we even got back, she had a call back. So we drove back again. Turn around. Back to New York.
This is going to make a Yui right here.
Yeah.
We're in Pennsylvania. Turn around.
Well, we got back and we didn't hear anything for several days. And I thought, I know she nailed it. I mean, she had the look and she knew the show and she was, just a great tapper. And so long story short, it was back when you used to keep your cell phone in your car just for emergencies.
Oh, yeah.
Well, she had given them her.
Ron does that now, by the way. It drives me nuts. I'm like, Ron, it's a mobile phone.
Right.
Take it. It can mobily come with you.
Not a car phone.
Well, they had been leaving her messages on her cell phone
geez.
days
Oh,
that she
no.
booked the Broadway show, and we were not responding because we were not getting the messages. So they ended up calling me because I was her emergency contact.
That is so great
Well,
that they're
here's-
like, this is an emergency.
I don't. Well, she's 17 and filling out all this paperwork. Her first audition, in New York, like
only
that.
17. Cool.
So anyway, we had to kind of close up shop here as quickly as possible and got her graduated early. She was at St. Ursula. Graduated early, moved to New York, and she started in the Broadway show that I was doing when I was
So
pregnant with her.
crazy.
So it was actually on Broadway, 42nd Street on Broadway.
It was
Very,
the
very cool.
biggest revival.
So I know who
in
our
years.
next starring role is going to have to be then. It's Kelly.
I know, right?
Have to have Kelly on here next.
Get
then.
her perspective on everything.
Yeah, well, she'll be like, well, my mom, she threw my phone away, and I wanted to go, and she refused to answer my phone.
Oh God, no! But I remember picking her up from school the day that I found out she got it, and I told the principal, I said, I'm going to take her out to lunch.
So she didn't know yet.
No, she didn't. She didn't know. And I picked her up and I said, we're going to go out for a special lunch. And then she said, why? And I said, well,
Yeah, it's not suspicious. I mean,
right. I said, you booked the Broadway show.
Oh my gosh.
And she looked at me and she goes, do I have to go back to school? I said, no, actually, you don't.
I would have cried on the spot. How did she keep it together?
So we had our lunch and went home, and she called and had her her books and her locker cleaned out and sent to her, and she finished up some coursework, and graduated early, and they mailed her diploma for opening night.
Yeah, who cares about that? Diploma de schmoma.
I don't
Who
need to
cares
walk
about-
into a stinking graduation.
Yeah.
So-
Did you just know you were always going to be doing dance then your whole life? I mean, is that just like, it never occurred to you to do anything else?
Never. No, I've always.
So
You just knew
you
you were
wouldn't have
gonna
been happier doing anything else, would you?
No.
You just were going to do this, and you just knew you were going to be able to earn a living doing it. And
It didn't even enter my mind. Of course, yes, of course I was going to. I just loved it, and that was just what I was born to do. I knew it.
I love it. I'm always curious about like the parent raising, that kind of stuff. This one, I'm less curious because you explained a lot of what your upbringing is, because I feel like a lot of people, when they say they want to do a performing arts career, they get a lot of grief, a lot of pushback.
gruff from
That's the
people.
word I'm looking for.
Right.
Now, what are you going to do with that?
Yeah. Ugh.
Right.
Yeah, but you
Yeah.
didn't get that at all, though.
No, I mean, my mom, she really didn't want me to leave because she wanted me to stay here and teach. I mean, I taught a lot of kids and kept our business running. And I said, no, I
point.
need to perform for myself.
Yeah.
And then when my daughter said she wanted to follow my footsteps and go to that audition, I said, well, I'll take you to New York. I'll show you how tough it is. You might want to think this through. Well,
She showed you.
she showed me.
Tiny bubbles up your nose.
So
I would have been like,
Isn't that what you do now? We all do that now. But I'm very happy for her, obviously. Happy for you.
Yes.
Sounds like you've had like a very exciting, very enjoyable life, though. Yeah.
Everything. I mean, I've had a fabulous career, lots of fun. I've had the opportunity to teach so many wonderful people who now these kids have grown up to be amazing adults. And some of them that took my class when they're kids are coming in tonight
Nice.
they're back tap dancing with me, and I just see the joy, and it's so much fun.
I was like, do these people who are coming tonight understand what a cool person you are and what you've done? Do they know that you've
Seriously.
done? I mean, that's the thing
Drew
too.
Barrymore is some street cred right there.
Exactly.
Where's your daughter now? I'm curious.
Actually, she just left. She lives in New York.
Okay.
But she is doing a production of White Christmas that is going up in right near Boston, somewhere in Boston. She just left yesterday for rehearsals there.
Amazing.
So, yeah. She has done the national tour of White Christmas for several years, and it was really heartbreaking during 2020 when they had to close.
Yeah.
So this is a much smaller production than what she's accustomed to, but still able to, that's such a joyous show. And
Oh, it really is. It really rings in the season too.
Oh, yeah.
Love it. So the only thing that I'm bummed about is when I originally talked to you about coming on the show is I did promise a chocolate martini.
Oh.
And so that still holds. If you when you want to come over sometime for anything else, when we have Kelly on, and then
You better get an Uber because Kyle's martinis are
made for me.
Are made to grow hair on your chest.
Yes.
Oh my
goodness. But the
goodness.
chocolate ones aren't nearly as powerful. But it was like, but you were such a busy person. You're out and about doing all these shows. Every time I'm looking up, it's Julie O'Connell's choreographing this show. Julie O'Connell's. I'm like, holy moly!
I know.
You are keeping super, super busy, and everybody is
love it.
really lucky to have you be able to do their shows. So
Thank
anybody
you.
who's has had you, I'm sure, has understood that they got themselves a gem.
Oh, thank you.
And are excited to have you back.
I didn't even know you lived here. It just goes to show you what you learn about people.
Yeah.
Exactly. Cool.
Well, I just finished doing Godspell for Bedford players.
Right.
And it was really fun. We had a great time.
Yeah.
And
you're
then,
doing another show now, I just heard.
I'm going to do Guys and Dolls
Guys
for
and Dolls.
Epiphany players. And I'm going to do Newsies for Toledo Christian.
Well, there you go.
So this is all in the works now. And
Yeah, we just had Epiphany on. Their episode actually just aired, and your name came up, and I was like, what? I'm like, you guys, again, I'm always like, do you guys know? Do you know who you're getting? I don't think you guys know who you're getting. So maybe they'll know now after this episode comes out. So
Cool. Thank you.
No, thank you for coming on here and actually making some time for us. Cool.
It's been a pleasure.
Yes,
Thank you
nice
so much.
meeting you.
Same.
Bye-bye.